I never learned to love the dark the way the compound wanted me to, but I learned to work inside it. Habitat Bay 7 ran on amber emergency light for 11 hours out of every cycle, because amber was cheaper than full spectrum, and because Director Calder said predators didn't need to see well to eat. I disagreed with him about a great many things. That was the first one. My job was simple on paper. Walk the catwalk above the containment cells, check the ghost biome projectors, log feed levels, report anomalies. The ghost biomes were the clever part of the whole operation. Each cell threw a holographic skin over its bars, a slice of whatever homeworld the specimen inside had been dragged out of. Red dunes for the sand runners, black canopy and false rain for the chitter moths, a gray wind-bent forest for specimen 9. 9 was a Korath, and Korath were the reason half the frontier compounds existed at all. Quadrupedal, armored along the spine in plates the color of wet slate, built low and heavy and fast, in a way that didn't look possible until you watched it move. 400 kilos of muscle and intention. The compound had pulled it off a moon nobody bothered naming, and in 2 years of captivity, it had killed 1 handler and put 2 more in a regeneration tank. It had never so much as turned its head at me. I want to be honest about why. I wasn't braver than the handlers it had hurt. I just talked to it. Every shift, while the ghost forest flickered gray and silver around its cell, I'd lean on the rail and tell it about nothing. The weather topside, a broken filter in the mess, whatever crossed my mind. Calder's rule was no contact beyond feeding chutes. No names, no voices the specimens could learn to associate with anything but food. I broke that rule every night for 14 months. I called it Cinder, for the way its eyes caught the amber light like coals going dark. I never said it out loud where anyone could hear, until the day it didn't matter anymore who heard. There's a particular kind of patience that comes from feeding something that wants to kill you, and watching it decide, every single night, not to. The first 3 months it ignored me outright, eating only after I'd walked the catwalk and gone. By month 6, it had stopped retreating to the back of the cell when the feeding chute opened. By month 10, it was waiting at the bars before I even reached the rail. Head low, ears, what passed for ears on something built like that, turned toward the sound of my boots on the grating. Nobody else got that. The other handlers fed 9 with the chute on remote and watched the monitor from 2 corridors away. I never told Calder how close I stood. Some things you keep, not because they're forbidden, but because they're yours. The trouble started because the Thren Combine sent an oversight delegation to evaluate the compound for a long-term weapons contract. 4 officials in pressed gray robes, walking the catwalk like the floor owed them something. Calder wanted the contract badly enough that he'd spent a week rehearsing his pitch on anyone who'd stand still for it. The ghost biomes broke a predator's will faster than starvation ever could. The compound's methods were humane and absolute. Total compliance achieved through total environmental control. Then one of the delegates asked the wrong question. He wanted to know what happened when the illusion failed, when a specimen recognized the forest for what it actually was, a lie built out of light, and decided to test the bars anyway. Calder didn't have a good answer ready, so he built one in real time. He'd show them, he'd take them down to 9's cell, drop the restraint field for exactly 4 seconds, and prove that even an uncontained apex predator warrior would freeze the instant it left the dome's comfort and met an unarmed handler in open corridor. He needed a handler standing in that corridor. He looked straight at me. I think he picked me because he'd heard the rumors about the talking, and some petty, ugly part of him wanted to watch the gentle one get proven wrong in front of an audience that mattered to his career. I didn't argue. Arguing would have meant explaining why I wasn't afraid, and I didn't have 4 seconds of vocabulary ready for that. We walked the delegation down to the lower corridor, the 4 Thren officials in a tight, murmuring knot behind Calder, their robes catching the amber light in a way that made them look like they were already retreating before anything had happened. One of them kept his hand near the small translator unit clipped to his collar, like he wanted a word ready for whatever came next. The air down there always smelled different from the upper levels, colder, metal, and ozone, and something faintly green from the false biomes running too close together, and the ghost forest was still glowing soft and gray through the cell's false wall when we reached it. 9 was lying down when we arrived, head low, the way it always was when the forest played birdsong it had never once actually heard in its life. Calder gave the order. The restraint field dropped with a sound like a held breath being let go, and the false forest died with it, the bars going bare and gray and real, and 9 was up and moving before the echo finished. 400 kilos closing 11 meters in under 2 seconds. I heard one of the Thren officials make a small, strangled sound. I heard Calder take one step backward, which told me everything about how confident his theory had actually been the moment it stopped being a theory. I didn't move. I said the name. Cinder. Easy. It hit the floor in front of me hard enough that I felt the impact in my teeth, all that armored weight dropping low, head down, and for one full second nobody breathed, including me, because I had never once tested this on open ground, and there's a version of this story where I'm wrong about everything I thought I understood about it. Then it pushed its skull into my open palm the way it did at the feeding chute when it thought no one else was looking, and the only thing aimed at me in that whole corridor was patience. Behind me, somebody finally let out a breath. I didn't turn around to see whose. Calder recovered faster than I expected him to. He barked the recall command, the one stamped on every Korath restraint protocol in the Combine's manual, the one built to make an animal flatten and submit out of pure conditioned dread. 9's head came up off my hand. It looked past me, straight at him, and the patience went out of its eyes the way a light goes out of a room. The growl that came up out of its chest wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was the kind of sound that tells you, with total and immediate clarity, exactly how little stands between you and something final. Don't, I said. Not to 9, to Calder. He didn't move again after that. Neither did anyone else in that corridor. I put my hand flat against the side of 9's jaw and felt the growl die down under my palm like a fire banking itself low for the night. And I told it, quiet, that it was done, that nobody was going to make it do anything else today. It believed me before Calder did. It lay back down, right there on the bare corridor floor, between me and 4 very still Thren officials in their pressed gray robes, and it did not get up again until I told it to. The delegation didn't sign the weapons contract. They signed something else instead, a research grant, under a new program title, with my name listed as lead handler, before Calder's name appeared anywhere on the document at all. Nobody ever explained to me how that happened so fast, and I never asked. I had a feeling someone in gray robes had seen exactly what they came down to that corridor to see, just not the lesson they had been promised walking in. Calder transferred out before the season ended. I never heard where they sent him, and I never went looking. Cinder still doesn't like the ghost forest. I had the projector pulled from its cell the week I took over the program, and it sleeps in the bare dark now, plates against the cold floor, the way it must have slept on whatever moon we took it from in the first place. Most nights it presses its skull against the bars when I do my rounds, and I lean on the rail same as always and tell it about nothing in particular. The weather topside, a filter that needs fixing, whatever crossed my mind on the walk down. The other handlers call it going hollow now, when I do that, talking a 400-kilo apex predator down to absolute nothing with a flat, quiet voice, and no fear sitting anywhere behind it. They say it like it's a technique you could write into a manual and teach. I never tell them it isn't one. It's just the truth, said calmly enough, and held there long enough, that something enormous finally chose to believe it.